Hello and welcome to another episode of the GodisaGeek Podcast. Joining me today, Mr. Christopher White, is Adam Cook. How are you doing, mate?
I'm right. I thought you were saying that you were joining yourself for a moment there.
I know, yeah.
That's
I
fine.
am. I'm in two parallel worlds at the minute.
Yeah, it's fine.
And I miss Nicola. How are you today?
I'm very
Darling.
well, thank you. I'm very well.
Good.
Did you just
Good.
divorce her? Like, it's just that she was Miss Nicola.
I know.
I'm
not darling this week as well, Adam, if you
Hey,
noticed.
I did say darling.
Oh, did you?
I snuck it in there. Yeah.
I didn't hear it. It
Sorry,
was a
my
subtle
bad.
one. It was a
No,
subtle
hey,
one.
it's all right. Listen back, you'll know. You know I meant it. So yeah, it's quite a eclectic mix of games this week.
Games never stop, do they? Like,
No.
I was sitting
No.
down the other day thinking how I'm just, you know what? Now some of the big ones have relaxed a bit. Kind of
Yeah.
Mass Effect was what would be the phrase, but the dropping off point. Like Mass Effect was like where like everyone else you've done it now. It's a little bit calmer, and like looking at the list of games we've got here, it's like there used to be a period of time when it's not stopped but slowed.
Even when it's quieter, it's not quieter. Like even when the big releases, like you say, aren't coming out. There's plenty on this list. There was plenty on last week's.
Oh.
You know, there's a hell of a lot of games to talk about. So I mean, we'll get stuck in with a bit of Little Nightmares. I think we'll start off with the kind of milder horror. It's not necessarily a horror game. I mean, we spoke about it on the video chat, Adam. But do you want to let us know a little bit about it?
It's difficult to talk about this game without kind of sounding like you're being down on it or derogatory, because I said in the video chat, so apologies for repeating myself, but I feel a little bit bad for the studio behind it, because if it had come out a year ago, we'd probably be talking about it like it was amazing. Some people will anyway. Yeah. But it's very much one of those games, and by that I mean Inside, Limbo, the kind of sort of 2.5D perspective platform puzzler with a kind of an oppressive, overarching feel.
Yeah.
Only this actually is sort of more 3D, like you can go in and out of the screen. It's a bit like, I believe the devs were involved in some port or version of Little Big Planet.
Oh, do you know, I was about to say it sounds like you're describing Little Big Planet.
Yeah. It's not on a, like, it's not like, I'm trying to think, was it Little Big Planet 3 where you could literally see the planes like there's... No, they did go full 3D, didn't they, towards the end?
I think so.
I haven't played 3.
I think it was 3, where they sort of went more 3D, but before that was planes. In this one, you move in and out of the environment as well as left, right, up and down. And I think it makes... I mean, it's also split into levels. There's 5 levels. I liked it. I just don't think it was very scary. Like, and for a game called Little Nightmares, also, like, nightmare is one of those words and this is a real bad admission from someone who writes, like... I always have to really think about the spelling of nightmare, right? Because when I was a kid, there was a TV show called Nightmare, but it was night as in night is around. And yeah. For some reason, I loved that show as a kid, and I cannot disassociate that TV show with the word nightmare, even though it's a play on words, isn't it? Night, because you are a knight. But I that was kind of like gaming TV for me as a kid. I don't know why.
Have you watched any of it recently on YouTube? I know we're going off a tangent.
I don't know that it would age very well.
I don't think it does. No.
It looks so shit. But the theme song had an awesome like cartoon intro as well. If you remember, like it was all animated.
Well, the strap line to the review is what he used to say. Oh, it's only a game, isn't it? Or I can't remember what I put now, but that was one of the things he used to say.
Right.
No one would get it, but it made me smile, and that's the important thing. After all, as a writer, you must please yourself. That's
yeah, definitely.
It's a good game. Like, it is a good game. It's the thing. I think that the problems it brings is because it goes more 3D. You have situations where you're crawling along a pipe. Now, in perhaps Inside or Limbo, if you just hold down the stick or the D-pad right, you would go right. Because this is more 3D, you will go that way, but not just binary left or right, so you can quite easily fall off to your death.
Right. Yeah. Okay, because there's like elements where you have to move forward and backward in the scene. Yeah. Is that what you're saying? Right. Okay.
So you're rather than you just pressing right, knowing she will follow the pipe because that is right. It's kind of like you're following the pipe, but the pipe's kind of right and down a bit, and it's also a very dark game, and that kind of adds up. It does look. It's not 3 hours long. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. And I think if you're going to go 3D more 3D.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. I mean, there's one bit. I don't know if this is intentional because Limbo trucked in kind of. Oh, you're dead. You didn't know that was coming. Fuck you. Do it again. You know what I mean? Like, and that was kind of trial, and Inside does as well. A lot of trial and error. There's this one bit where I did this puzzle, and you basically have to, because you're small, and there's a door handle. You have to jump to the door handle, which will unlock the door and let you through. And I did that, and I jumped to the handle. The door swung open, and I just let go because I thought, well, I've got open, and I just swung off the door handle straight into the abyss. It might perhaps my fault, but it's.
It didn't signpost it? Are you saying that the signposts for the dangers are not there? They just it's almost like the game expects you to die at that point. Is that what you're saying?
Not to the degree that Inside and Limbo does, in fairness.
Right, okay.
Like a lot of these are, I think this a bit more generous actually in that respect. I wouldn't say I'm not. This isn't me being like, look at me, I'm hard, me. I'm there's games on this list.
Double hard, double hard.
Double hard bastard. There's a game on this list that I'm sure we'll talk about, and I have a story of shame in that game. But this one, it's only the very final level that I obviously can't go into exactly why.
Of course,
that I found creepy, not scary, but more traditionally horror sort of tropes creepy, whereas the rest of the game is kind of just about sort of grotesqueness and.
But isn't that what it's about? It's about a little child, aren't you? You're a small child, aren't you?
I presume so. You seem to be a small child. It's interesting. This game's made me think about a lot of things actually, because I saw a lot of people. Like after I never read reviews before I've written my own because I never want it because sometimes knowledge just seeps in and you don't mean it to. You know what I mean? I think everyone does that. But I did read reviews afterwards, and I totally am not throwing anyone under the bus here. But afterwards, I kept seeing people referring to the girl as Six, as her name is Six, and I kept seeing people saying that it takes place in a place called the Moor, and I sat there and thought. The game never tells me that. And then I looked at the, full disclosure, Namco sent out like a press pack. It's just a cardboard sleeve with a soundtrack disc, the game disc, and there's a T-shirt that's fucking way too small. You think they'd know, but it doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. It's my fault, not theirs, really. But in the blurb, on the cardboard sleeve, it calls her Six and says you're in the Moor.
Right.
Okay.
But it never tells you that in the game. And it started making me wonder about... I wonder if I've done that in a review. Like, I've written down, this, that, and the other happens, and like I only know that because we've received a billion emails or PR blasts or trailers. Like, it doesn't matter. It's a total non-issue. Again, I'm not having a go at anyone. I don't care.
What is the Moor? Whose Moor are you in?
No, well, exactly. I mean, and it's supposedly undersea, and that there's definitely. An indication. I mean, it would have to be a Bioshocky kind of under the sea because there's a moment where you go outside and go up a set of steps, but then there's also a moment where you get on a ship, and like so. But you are also kind of escaping wherever you are. But I will absolutely say there's no point in the game tells you you're called Six that I remember. But again, totally fine. Like if the developer says, this is our game about so and so, and you play so and so called Six, fine. It's just interesting to. It made, like I said, it made me think how many times have I done that, and not even realise that the game never actually communicates that. And does it matter? Probably not. But I don't know. It's an interesting little game.
Yeah, it is.
That really lacks. I don't think it has a story. Like it thinks it does. Like a lot of games, like it thinks it's got a story, but I don't have I mean, I got Silent Hill vibes off of it in terms of the design, the aesthetic.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it was about, if I'm honest with you.
It sounds to me like you're describing a perpetual kind of chase type nightmare, if you know what I mean.
Well,
where you're just being chased constantly and you don't know what it is.
You are being chased, but not by the same. Like there's a
right.
Is it a spoiler? I mean, there's a guy with these really creepy long arms that chases you for I think the second level. He chases you, maybe the first as well a bit. I think first and second, and you have to sort of see him off. And then the third level, there's like a big. Again, he's been in the promo shot.
So is it different nightmares then? Is it different nightmares?
So you get a trophy after each level, which kind of signifies you finished that level.
Right.
But it all seems to be set in a chronologically accurate order. Like it doesn't seem to be different nightmares. It seems to be. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. So without spoiling it, like I'd be interested to see theories on what it's about because it's easy to just go, you play a little girl in nightmare, who's having nightmares or whatever. But the ending kind of doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't support that for me.
Okay. I'll have to give it a go, Adam. I'll have to give it a go.
It's not long. You know, to be fair, it's cheap. It's like 20 quid. In fact, I saw it on Amazon for 14 or 15.99.
Right. That's too rich for my blood, Adam.
Right. I mean, I just post our disc out or something. I just post the disc out because I think it's worth playing.
Right.
If you like Inside and Limbo, because and again, to be fair,
still not played Inside. I did really like Limbo though.
I don't think it's anywhere near as good as either of them. I still think Limbo's probably the best. I don't want to upset people. I liked Inside, but not as much as other people did. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well,
sounds interesting though.
Yeah. It's worth a look. Outlast 2, then.
Well, I was going to say, if we're talking about nightmares, Chris, let's get on to Outlast.
And do you know what? Weirdly, when we were chatting about Outlast 2 the other day on the video chat, Adam's asked me if I'd had any nightmares, and I hadn't even thought about how the game was affecting me. But on reflection of like a dream I had during I was playing it was like it was as if it really was, because there's things in this game, and I was in a weird roundabout way. They were seeping into my dreams, and I had this really fucked up dream one night. Basically, it's a very affecting game.
It's a horrible game, Chris.
Not in the greatest of ways.
I have to say, I have to get this out of the way because I cannot forget to do this. I have to genuinely put a virtual hand out and shake Chris's hand and say fair fucking play, right? Because I've played a bit of this, and unless someone said to me, you're reviewing this, i.e. it's your job to play this, I can't play this game. And he did it. And, in fairness, he was told, you're reviewing this, you need to play through it. But it's still, like...
It's a good job you didn't come to me, Adam.
Oh, it's unpleasant. It's unpleasant.
It is. So, you start off, you and your wife are journalists, and you're a cameraman as well, which helps, because you have to carry
the bit that's unpleasant, that you're a journalist, isn't it? That's the worst bit in the game.
Yeah, the fact that but you're in your helicopter and it crashes.
Obviously,
surprisingly.
Is it raining? Is it raining when you crash?
I don't think it
thunderstorm.
It's dark. It's not very. Yeah, it's pretty grim outside. I don't want to say it's raining, but yeah, it's typical. Okay. But anyway, you crash.
It'll be foggy then. If it's not a thunderstorm, it's foggy.
It is foggy.
Right,
it is foggy. In fact, it's foggy throughout the game.
Right.
But so you crash. You're lost. You don't know where you are. You're over kind of like this like woodland desert area. Anyway, obviously you encounter this cult, this religious cult that kind of kill their own they sacrifice their own whilst using sex and it's
too much.
It's fucking grim, and I don't want to take away from how great it is as a survival horror, which I'll get to, but there are parts in the game which are just like you wonder why they have to go to those places to put the message across, because by this time I'm already shitting myself. I'm scared to death of taking another step forward. If I get my way into a house, I will shut the door and I will just have a few minutes, as much as I can, just to relax, because I know as soon as I go out the other entrance, something is going to come and get me. But just like there's a scene in it with very unpleasant images of some children like that are dead, and that's all I want to say, because it's not really pleasant. But anyway, it just kind of it takes away a bit from the game and how smart it is. It just, I don't know, it's unnecessary.
Right.
But in terms of the actual game and the survival horror, it is probably the purest survival horror game I've ever played. Because
you're literally fucking surviving and horrified the whole time.
You are. Like from the very start, you're shitting it. You've got. The thing is with other survival horrors, you have a weapon.
I was going to say, is it like the first one where you literally
you've got
have to run? You just have to run. You've got nothing at all. You can't. You don't even have a lead pipe. Which obviously you always have a lead pipe. I mean, I've always got one lying around.
Exactly, of course, yeah. But no, you've got absolutely nothing. You've got a camera and some bandages and some batteries. That's it. If you see someone, you have to hide or run. That's the only options you've got.
Does that ever? Because I've only, I don't know what I played. I played about an hour, maybe less. And the thing I kept noticing that because the game is like entirely dark. Like the first game, you have to use your camcorder for night vision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I found that the batteries would start running out, and then I would almost every time conveniently find a room where there were more batteries, just as because I was like, it was a case. It's like if these run out, I can't see. That's not scary because I can't see at all when these when I don't put this infrared up. But I kept running into because the scariest bit for me was I can't remember if I put it in the video or not. But when you haven't really kind of encountered anyone, I walked sort of towards, I don't know, sort of like it's all sort of barn-like and outdoorsy, and I just you catch the glimpse of the whites of someone's eyes, and you realise someone's looking at you. And I don't know if it's scripted, and it probably is, but as I sort of zoomed in, I realised he was just backing away from me, like he'd been looking at me the whole time, and that creeped me out the most.
That's just creeped me out. You're describing it.
It's really horrible, and it's like, with the end of our video review is where I stopped playing. Basically, the woman you encounter, who I've led to believe is kind of a main character, eviscerates your bollocks. I mean, I can't think of a nice way of putting it. She has this massive, like, 2v4 with a pickaxe on the end, but a massive pickaxe, and she pushes you over and then just scythes you right in the knackers, like, and you're just pouring blood from your crotch, and it's like, I mean, fine, it's a horror game, but like, does it ever, like, do you see what I mean? Does it wear thin? Because like Alien Isolation, I felt trucked in kind of, you're being hunted, but it gave you moments of the alien's gone away for a bit. You get it. He's gone away. I can kind of move the story on. Like there's a whole bit in that game where the alien disappears and you're back your combat with those androids. I get the feeling from you that this never ever stops hunting you, and that's what puts me off playing it.
Right, so the woman, she is the main character. She isn't in it all the time. She pops up every now and again. So
are we talking like Nemesis or what? Like Resi Nemesis?
I was going to say, you're describing...
You know, it is. And she'll come up, and when you see her, you know that scene is going to be fucking difficult to get away from. Because there's this... for one of the scenes, and I won't ruin any of the story or anything, but there's one scene where you encounter her, and to get away from that area, there's like a wooden gate right at the bottom of this little kind of this bit of the town, and you have to climb over the gate, but you're too short, so you have to push something towards it. So she's chasing you around, and you have to somehow push this kind of cart towards this door. So you'll get to the cart, push it, but you'll hear her. So then you have to escape again, and then the whether you want to use it or not, the left shoulder button makes you look over your shoulder.
Oh no!
So that wasn't so you can look to see if she's there, but it's like, do you want it? I never used it because I thought I'd rather just assume that she's not there and get attacked than look and see her and then shit myself. So
I'm getting images with a Benny Hill theme playing as you're running around a small town.
Yeah, unfortunately, it never kind of. I should have had that on my PC. I should have just had that playing constantly.
You know that I played a little bit of the first one because I streamed it for the site for a couple of weeks. And
oh yes, I remember.
Initially, when I first started playing it, I was like, God, this is quite scary and I don't really like it. And I was kind of whimpering a bit going, don't make me play.
Yeah.
But after a while, it kind of got a bit old. And what you're describing there, there's a scene in the asylum where you've got to get through an area, but there's a guy who's literally just chopped a couple of my fingers off, who's kind of running around after me, and I hide under a bed, and I have to like move something that's blocking a door, and it's just like you're running around in panic, and it's not always that easy to see where you've got to go because this idiot's chasing you and he's relentless. Is it a bit like that? It just it annoyed me in the end. And like if you watch some of the streams, certainly the end couple of streams, you can just hear that I'm just frustrated by it now.
Pissed off with it by the end.
Yeah, I'm annoyed with it, not scared by it. It's just annoying
that's what happened
me.
In Nemesis, like after the first few times, which were really tense, you were like, "Oh, for God's sake, could you piss off, mate?" You know.
Yeah.
But I also the thing is, I also don't want a game that like Nemesis that is modern and looks real. You know,
played in VR.
Kind of, yeah. Oh, Jesus, the thought of it.
Oh no, never. But when she does appear, I mean, there's lots more threats than just this one woman. But when she does appear, it isn't always you have to run away from her. It kind of uses some good ideas later down the line with her that isn't like, because there's a scene where you're in the water, you can't run in water, but you have to kind of duck and underneath. So as I say, I don't want to ruin anything, but you do kind of, it does kind of challenge that, and it isn't just about running away from it. But then there's also a really... Go on, sorry, Adam.
I was just going to ask, how far would you have got if you weren't reviewing it? Like, honestly, how would you have... Because I kind of want to see the story, but there's just no way. Like, gaming time is where you're not working on a game, reviewing it, previewing it, whatever, writing an article, capturing video. Just personal time to enjoy like your hobby. It's quite precious, and I don't mind certain horror films. I don't mind thrillers, but I wouldn't probably in the evening if I was to sit down, I'd probably stick some football on or watch something funny, a comedy or an animation or just play whatever. But it's how far would you have finished this if you weren't reviewing it?
Not a chance.
How far in would you have got before just getting that?
A couple of hours, if that.
Okay, more than me.
It's really. Like there was times where I was struggling to play it because
is that because of the scare factor or because what? I'll be honest, the imagery bothers me a little bit. Like
it is, it's everything. It's the intensity. It's when
the sound.
I was saying about the sound. Well, I've got, as I was saying to you, I've got the PC like now. It's next to my daughter's bedroom.
Did you wear headphones?
So I've got I play my headphones throughout.
That,
oh God!
No, I'm sorry.
But like, there's the saving in the game. Whilst it is quite generous, it saves right before a chase, so it's not like you could walk into that chase. So say you die whilst being chased, it won't go back to just before the chase, and you could either then proceed to get chased or you can walk off and do something else. You have to relive that chase. So I was playing through this one particular thing about 10-20 minutes, and I was getting caught, and it was just horrible. I had to stop playing it and go away. And but there's one kind of thing I want to mention before we move on, is the flashback sequences are equally as brilliant, because you're this as I said, you're this cameraman, but it goes back to when you were younger, and it flashes back to in a school, like the school hallways, the lockers during the 90s. So you're going into these rooms.
Of that first one, because like that first one's just one flew over the cuckoo's not cuckoo's nest. That's The Shining.
Yeah. Oh god, there's some fucked up. Yeah, later on, man.
Really?
It reminds me more of The Shining, because there are the chase scenes in the school, but it's a lot more kind of psychological horror with the use of blood, and where you would see water within schools, so in the toilets or in the sprinkler system, the water kind of gets replaced with blood at certain points.
Yeah, I don't
and it just gets a bit.
Anymore.
It's a bit horrific, but the attention to detail. There's like the old like projectors used to have.
The OHP stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I don't know what you're on about, Chris. Whiteboards when I were at school. Whiteboards.
Like the TV stands with those old 80s TVs on, and all that kind of stuff. So visually it's stunning as well. The sound is excellent. It's if you love horror and survival horror, and you want to play this, then you will love it, because it's so well put together. And it has a lot more lasting ability than the first one. I played the first one, and whilst it was scary to start with, it does kind of get a bit dull,
I've not finished it. I just can't be arsed with it. It's doing me head in.
Yeah, it doesn't really get anywhere. Whereas this one, it's very smart and very kind of very well put together. Okay. So as I say, if you want that experience and you want to shit yourself and not sleep at night and have horrible dreams,
who doesn't?
Yeah, then go ahead and play it if you want that. But God, I would never ever play that again.
Good.
So yeah, that's my endorsement.
Yeah, it's ringing in a way.
Well, I was just saying, like before the pod, how I want to kind of move on to something a bit more chilled out. Where like The Witcher and stuff. And Nick, a game that's kind of similar to that, Mass Effect.
Yeah.
You have now finished Mass Effect.
I have.
Andromeda.
I have finished.
I
say finished it. I've got a few like mop up bits and bats, but I have done the main story. Yeah, exactly. The credits have rolled.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like proper contrary. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. good. I'm glad, because it's a great game.
That's kicked out the games industry cabal.
Yeah, well, indeed. I do think there's some issues with it, and it is a bit of a step down from the quality of the original trilogy. But, I mean, I've said in Slack, haven't I, that I get it. I get that, asking a player to invest sort of 10, 12 hours into a game before it starts getting really good is too much of an ask. I do agree with that. Yeah. But it does reward you for sticking with it. And I proper enjoyed it, and my mind's whirring about where it's going to go, and like the parallels with what happened in the trilogy and what has happened in Andromeda just really fascinated me. This whole idea around AI and the integration of AI and the distrust of AI or the trust of it. All of that has got me really fascinated, because the whole trilogy was about artificial intelligence and how, the Geth rebelled against their creators, the Quarians, and they were an enemy, and the Reapers are an AI and they're an enemy, and like Overlord DLC was all about rogue AI and stuff like that. So everything in the Milky Way was very much AI bad, organic life is good.
Yeah.
Whereas in Andromeda, the initiative is AI driven. Your character, the Pathfinder, Nola Ryder, not Sarah Ryder, Nola Ryder, she's, she's got an AI link. I don't know, is it in a brain? I'm not sure. Is there an implant? Whatever. But, they're very heavily reliant on artificial intelligence, and, there is artificial intelligence in the Andromeda Galaxy. I'm not going to spoil, what that's about, but there's a continuing dialogue about organic life and artificial life. And I just find that quite interesting as somebody who's delved quite deep into the lore and the codex in the trilogy. There's lots and lots of parallels that just kind of subtly link it back to what's gone before. Yeah. And there's been a lot of criticism about, the writing being a bit flat and not as good as it has been in the past, and I kind of agree with that. There are certain sections where the writing kind of doesn't hit the mark.
Do you not think that's a lot is involved with the fact that we were all, myself included, so attached to the previous roster that you are essentially being faced with a game that people kind of wanted, but let's be honest, wasn't needed, and a blank slate of characters, all of whom and you also, because you've played 60 to 100 hours of 3 games in a trilogy, the structure of Andromeda before you even play it. You'll be introduced to probably 6 or 7 characters who will become part of your party, some of whom you can shag. You know what I mean? You have expectations because you know how BioWare... Because that's kind of BioWare have a very distinct structure that permeates all of their games. And I think this game was on a hide into nothing from the get-go, and to be honest with you, when we had it pre-release and I saw 4 patches before the embargo, and that doesn't happen. No, it just doesn't.
Initially when I first started playing it, I was enjoying it, but I wasn't drawn into it. If you get me, I was enjoying it, but I wasn't in love with it, and I kind of had to do a bit of work with myself to kind of go, okay, well, look, this isn't Shepard. Ryder is not Shepard. And that was a big hurdle initially, getting over this idea that it's a new person, and I initially I didn't like the voice acting for Sarah Ryder. I thought it was good. I thought the voice acting was good, but it wasn't Jennifer Hale's Shepard. And that took a little bit of work for me. But once I'd got over that, and thought, okay, look, this is a clean slate. Let's forget about the trilogy, and just sort of approached it a bit fresher, just a bit, and treat it. God, that's the right Yorkshire thing. And treated it like treat it with a bit of respect. No, just just treated it as if it was like a blank slate. And I really started to enjoy it a lot more. And as I say, it does reward you for playing further into it. Now, I don't know whether I've got more out of it because, of course, I have played the trilogy. So a lot of the little, subtle things in there have got my imagination fired up. I don't know whether somebody new to the series would kind of maybe be as enthusiastic about it. I don't know. But there's lots of stuff. There's lots of little links back to Milky Way, and they may just be little Easter eggs, for fans.
I mean, it's not the best combat in the series, let's be honest.
The combat is wonderful. It is brilliant. I really enjoyed it. And the big sort of boss battles that you have, they're thrilling. The movement and the combination of powers and the gunplay, it makes it really thrilling. And there is the first time that I met one of the really big bosses. It took me sort of 15-20 minutes to take it down, and it was just I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it's so fluid, considering it's an RPG. It was just so fluid, and the gunplay's really tight. I just thought that in that sense, people are saying, oh, it's not very well crafted, because there's lots of bugs or the facial animation's off or whatever. Post-patch, by the way, the facial animations are significantly better. That they're significantly better. I mean, the big character who really stood out was that Addison on the Nexus. If you went back and had a look at it now, she looks considerably better. And she doesn't look as wooden and weird as she did in the past. So that, they have done some work to resolve that. And it's a shame that it wasn't in that state when it released, because I think that's the predominant narrative about Mass Effect Andromeda, which is a shame because...
It's a shame because it's not BioWare's fault.
It is a shame because there is some really good stuff in there. And in terms of laying down the groundwork for another game, there's lots to dig into.
Will there be an Andromeda 2? Because
I tell you what,
I
hope so. I really do hope so, because...
But it's not, obvious, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah. The story isn't... The story's open.
Okay.
I'd be disappointed if they didn't continue it, and I'm guessing if they don't continue it, that would be a commercial decision why they haven't continued it.
I think it would have made millions.
I hope so, because
regardless of that narrative, I bet it sold loads.
I hope so.
I've been enjoying it.
Well, because when it's good, it's really good.
Right.
It's just a shame that there are bits in it that are not as high quality as you expect, and a lot of that poorer quality stuff is front loaded, and I get it. I get, for some people to push past that is too much of an ask, and it is really too much of an ask to ask somebody to sit through 10-12 of okay game
so
to get to really good game.
Because what the vibe I'm getting where I last played it, I was about 12-15 hours in. I was on the second planet where you meet Jarl. Yeah. Where there's it's very purple, this planet.
And
the vibe I was getting for it was Dragon Age Inquisition hinterlands, where the thing that everyone said is no, just leave the hinterlands, just leave it, because once you leave there it gets good. But I have a big problem when there's 20 quests over. So no, they're all here. I want to do them. Are you saying that if I just go, look, just this, it will? I
am saying that basically.
I didn't dislike it. I just thought it was all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to do some work. So I had to do some work to kind of separate Ryder from Shepard, and then I had to do some work to just really focus on the major quests. So you've got your main storyline quests. You've got your allies and relationship quests. That's like you setting up an outpost or whatever, things that are linked to that, or building up ties with the new race, the Angara. Then there's planet specific ones, and then there's just a load of chaff which is in the task section, which is that crappy
is that
scan
the fetch quest stuff. And
kind of. Scan that.
Thinking, why?
Yeah, exactly. So I made a decision probably around about Haval, which is where you meet Jarl, the Angaran, to not do those
Right,
unless I was stood right near the marker, and I thought,
Gotcha.
well, I'm here, I'll go and do it. But I wasn't going to a planet and then looking and ticking off everything on that planet, because
Right.
it stilts. And I found this with Dragon Age Inquisition. It stilts the main story, so
That's
that you
exactly what
lose
happened.
the pacing of the story, then gets lost. So I kind of went, do you know what? I'm not really going to bother with those, because they're fairly pointless anyway. They're just a means of making the map seem busier and what have you. I mean, there's plenty to do without even touching those. And some reasonably interesting side quests. There's a few really quite good side quests. But, you know, there's also a lot of side quests that I did that seemed fairly innocuous. But when I did them, I was like, oh, I wonder if that's going to come back and bite me. Or, oh, that was cool, because that was like a link to something that happened, you know, back in Mass Effect, you know, 2 DLC or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So there's a few little bits in there that, you know, kind of reward you. But, I mean... For me, I know I can talk about Mass Effect all day. For me, I think what people
It just sounds like
forget...
you're wrestling with it, like, if you know what I mean.
No, what I'm trying to say is, like, for me, I think people forget that Mass Effect 1, when it first came out, was quite well received. I remember it getting 8s and 8.5s or whatever, so it was well received. But there's been a lot of retrospective criticism of it, but there's also an awful lot of rose-tinted spectacles. Oh, Mass Effect 1's amazing, blah. And Mass Effect 1 was good, and I thought it was brilliant. But then everybody goes, 2's the best game, 2's the best in the series. What I feel with Andromeda is that it is Mass Effect 1, but in Andromeda. It's got that very same feel where everything was... There was a lot more focus on exploration than in later games. As if you think about 2, there was really only the main story where you had to find out what the collectors were doing. And then the rest of the game was making relationships with your crew, wasn't it? Doing the crew-specific loyalty missions. That is essentially what Mass Effect 2 was. There wasn't a lot of going onto a planet and, you know, faffing about in a Mako and discovering stuff. That was stripped out of 2. Andromeda feels like it's gone back to what 1 was, and I just feel like it's been unfairly written off, when actually there's an awful lot of groundwork there for what could potentially be another fantastic trilogy, if they tie up some of these threads that they've started to build, because there's loads to unpick, you know, from what's happened already, what you know already of the Mass Effect universe in terms of what's gone on in the Milky Way. I mean, I don't want to get into spoilers, but I've got lots of theories about, you know, what's going to happen, and I'm really quite excited, so I hope that they do a sequel, because there's some potential there for it to really develop into something quite special, I think.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, go and play it, 'cause it is an amazing game. And it did get treated very poorly at launch for some things. I mean, yeah, there were issues, but everyone piled on it. And just
I think, like Adam says, I think the narrative about it was written well before the game even came out.
It was set in an industry that kind of thrives on negativity. It was set, and this is not the time or place for it, but once hooks are dug, I'm trying to be as vague as possible, but once hooks are dug into something, that's it. That's not changing. And I'm not saying it was fair or unfair. Like the things people were showing were true and did happen. I had bugs where, like, I came out of the pause menu and the screen was black where the UI was on the screen. I had to reboot the console. It's been fixed since.
I will say I didn't experience that many bugs with it until I got towards the end.
Weird.
Like, I'm sort of 60 odd hours into the game, and then it kept like freezing, and I'd have to dashboard and load it.
That's not good.
That was a shame, really, because that did colour it a little bit, because I was kind of sat there going, Well, I know that people were saying, "Oh, Xbox One, it's dreadful. It's dreadful on Xbox One." I was sat there going, "Do you know? I haven't actually had any issues with it. There's been a few silly things, like Ryder was going to take a drink and there was nothing in her hand, which I thought was funny more than anything. But it was only towards the end, I'd say, in the last sort of couple of hours of the game, it maybe crashed on me 2, 3, maybe 4 times, where it literally froze the screen and I had to dashboard it and then go and reload it again. And that got I was a little bit cross at that point, because I've played a lot. In fact, I even thought I hadn't got my save, if you remember. It crashed.
Yeah.
I dashboarded it, and then when I loaded it up, it was just sat with the icon spinning in the bottom right, and it wouldn't even bring me up the main menu, where you can click resume, load, go to multiplayer. It wouldn't even bring that up, and the only way I could get it back was I had to do a power cycle of the Xbox to clear everything, to cache or whatever. I don't know what it is, a bit technical for me, but just to clear it. And that was the only way I could get back into my save, because I was thinking, shit, I've got like 50 hours here, what am I going to do, because I'm not starting it again.
No way.
Yeah, so anyhow, it's good. Okay. Play it, it's good.
Yeah, well, from a story about scouring the galaxy for one home, I'd like to talk about a game that's all about exploring one house. What Remains of Edith Finch.
Oh yeah.
That's out.
And I play this.
My review went up to. Well, my review's up now, because I'm thinking, when's this going to go up?
I mean, mate, unless you're cutting that, like if you said to then people are going to. It's yeah.
Yeah. So I have reviewed What Remains of Edith Finch, and it's just stunning in many ways. I don't really know where to start, because it kind of took a lot out of me. I remember just after I finished, I was just kind of sat watching the credits. And
how long is it, Chris?
It's about 2.
Okay, that's perfect.
2.5 hours.
Do you know what your
However,
review made me think? Like, I sub-edited your review. Gone Home. Like, everything you were describing, it was like this sounds like Gone Home, and I love Gone Home, by the way, I should say. So that's a good thing.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, it is you. I mean, you are. So basically, you are exploring your old family home, and no one lives there anymore. Reasons kind of unknown, other than at the start you were told your mum left with you one night, just left the house. So when you go into the house, there's like takeaway boxes on the side. It's as if it's very much just everyone just left. It's like everyone just disappeared in like a rapture, and it's been left exactly how it was this one night. And there are many rooms within this house that have all been kind of sealed up. And you find when you go to one of these doors, on the kind of front of it, it'll say, for example, Barbara Finch, born 1944 to 1960. There's another room where it's Gregory Finch, born 1967, died 1968. So you know that you've got to kind of find out why these people have died. So you already know there's children involved. There's a 1-year-old. There's a lot of people that have died, and obviously death's quite a big theme in this. But the way Giant Sparrow have dealt with it is just exceptional. It's not about. Well, it is very sad. It is a sad game, and there are moments which you do get really upset because of what you're watching. But it kind of celebrates the life that they had and the stories that are told, and it kind of makes you think about your life and how you should learn to appreciate life more and stop moaning about inconsequential bollocks on social media every day. You should start living with your life. That's and enjoying your life with your family.
Example, Chris.
Hey, just plucked it out the air, But I just think it's such a gorgeous game in many ways. The writing is absolutely phenomenal.
What kind of game is it, Chris? Is it?
It's a wonder game.
So okay.
It is very much. Right. It's very much in the same vein as your Gone Homes and Everybody's Gone to the Rapture.
And your Blackwood Crossing.
And your Blackwood Crossing, yeah. I mean, you
talked about that game. Sorry.
No, they didn't.
No, you're right.
No,
you're right.
It's disappeared, that game. We did, but that just disappeared.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's similarities to Gone Home. Yeah, you are looking around this house, and there is a voiceover that comes on and talks about certain things as you see them, and as well as the kind of the talking, the text pops up on the screen. It's very much, if you played Unfinished Swan, you know how important the kind of text is in that game and stuff like that. But so the kind of, when you go to these rooms and you explore the rooms, and you, like, for instance, there's a boy who was 13 when he died, and it kind of, you see his room and you see that it's been cordoned off, and one half of the room was one of the brothers who, you know, grows up, and then the other one, his room's sealed off. Like, his side of the room is sealed off with like a barrier, so it remains untouched basically. You kind of, you find your way into this little side of the room, and you see this letter, and you read this letter, and it's from his brother about the day he died. And then it cuts to the scene where he's on a swing, and he's swinging, and it's in the trailer, and you see that he basically flies off the swing over a cliff. And that's how he lives his life, you know. It deals with depression very well, and I don't want to say it deals with it in a beautiful way, but the way they kind of, the imagination of how they deal with death in this is it's so smart. It's not like, oh, you'll go to a flashback, and the flashback will, like the lad on the swing, there's a flashback where it does it via a comic book style, so there's like comic book panels with dialogue popping up in like, you know, dialogue bubbles. There's where it kind of contrasts with a video game of this lad who has depression, how his imagination started to wander at work, and he started to believe he's like in this computer game. And it's just the design choices and the way that, and I mentioned in the review, the way they deal with the boy, the 1 year Gregory, who dies at 1. You're never looking forward to that because you know it's coming, but the way they deal with it, it's just incredible.
I know exactly what Nicola's going to say, but say it.
Are you sure? Because do you know, you talking about it? It sounds to me. Have you played To the Moon?
No.
Okay, you were right. I didn't know what you were going to say.
To the Moon is. It's a while since I played To the Moon, but it left me in absolute pieces. Did that game, and that was looking at death, but a death that had been cordoned off. You know, the brain had. It was too traumatic, and the brain had cordoned it off. I thought you were going to
say. It sounds like Blackwood Crossing.
Yeah, it does kind of. There are. I thought there were similarities because that game deals with death,
loss, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, what you're describing there, and the way that it pieces it together, and the way that it sort of presents the breakdown, is like To the Moon, or certainly what you were describing sounded to me like To the Moon. That is a good game, To the Moon. Play it. It'll move you.
I will.
Yeah. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It kind of hit me. I think if everyone's dealt with it to some extent, and it's a horrible thing to go through, but playing this, it just kind of just helps you with things. Like, it makes you think about everything, and there is a positive kind of message amongst all the sorrow and that, you know. And the writer it's been designed just in every kind of way possible, just amazingly. And I think everyone's going to be able to kind of connect to it in some way.
Okay.
And it's just, I don't really know what else to say other than it's a game that needs to be played, I think.
I just want to ask you to go back to Blackwood Crossing, because as Adam says, they're both, I think, thematically sound quite similar. I know a lot of people are talking about this particular game, and it's kind of interesting to me why this one people are talking about.
The developer.
Right. Oh, okay.
The developer was
Unfinished Swan.
Which was kind of released around after Journey, I think, and it was kind of seen as that kind of game on a Sony console from a developer that was making that kind of game, and this has Yeah, it's got that vibe about it, whereas Blackwood is kind of like a new game from a new developer that no one's ever heard of.
Okay.
And
it's just interesting what gets people talking. You know, like this one I've seen a lot of people talking about, but
yep, same.
You know, I mean, we've all played Blackwood Crossing, and I thought that was a very, very good game. And as we say, nobody's talking about it, and it's a shame, really, because it's.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, I think the thing with What Remains of Edith Finch, it's just the way they address it. I think it's just very smart, and it's without saying too much more. It's a case of just play it. You know,
I'm going to.
It's certainly worth playing, and you know, it's just really kind of moving because it reminds me a lot of my mum. And my mum's kind of throughout her life, she lost her son when I was 5. She lost her brother when she was younger. She lost her dad when she was younger.
Oh my goodness.
She lost her mum a few years ago, you know, and it just there's like this kind of feeling, the family feel that they're cursed, which that's how they feel, you know. It's whether you believe in that kind of thing or not, but it's just very much kind of hit home because that's how it felt to her, and you know, hearing her stories, it's like there's kind of stories that get told in this game. So I just think if you're familiar with this, you know, the kind of themes in the game, you are going to connect to it.
Okay.
But in a completely, you know, even if none of that had happened, it's still just stunning visually. You know, the score is just gorgeous. Like the music is just mind blowing, and it contrasts the visuals very well. It's just I mean, play it. It's just stunning.
One to add to my ever-growing list.
I mean, it should take you too long. Play it when you've got something jolly to play afterwards. You know, don't. I went to bed after it, and I was just lying in bed, just thinking about it.
Oh dear!
Fucking ages. wasn't a smart move. But but no, let's move it on a bit. Something a bit more jolly. I don't know how to pronounce this, Adam, because I'm stupid. Puyo Tetris.
Puyo Tetris, yeah.
Puyo, yeah. What's that like?
It's a cracking puzzle game. It's been out in Japan for quite some time. And like there was a little sort of community built around importing because it's just weird. The licensing in this game's weird because I don't know if you remember, but Ubisoft put out a Tetris game, and I can't
remember. Did they?
Was it last year or a year before? They put out a digital Tetris game. It was like Tetris Ultimate, and they've been putting out like DS games, 3DS games, Tetris games for a while. So there's some sort of weird thing with the digital licensing of this game. So if you want to buy Puyo Puyo Tetris, you can buy it digitally on Switch. You can't buy it digitally on PlayStation 4. That's a physical release.
Oh.
It's just very strange. But it's basically, it's Tetris. Everyone, I'm not going to explain Tetris, I'm sorry. I've refused on more than one podcast, and I'm going to continue to refuse to describe Tetris. And Puyo Puyo, which is...
a Tetris?
A tetromino. A tetromino is a... No. You're not going to draw me into this. But it's like, so you can just boot on the Switch. You can actually, from the main menu, just press Tetris and it jumps straight into like endurance mode on Tetris. But Puyo Puyo is, so it's kind of like Tetris but weirder. And instead of making lines, you have to make combos of 4 Puyo Puyos. Or Puyos, I suppose. I just say the one.
What's a Puyo?
They're like sort of circly goo things. A bit. They look a bit like the mascot for Dragon Quest.
Oh, okay.
The little weird blob.
Oh, the little teardrop things.
Yeah, kind of
fat teardrops.
Yeah, basically, yeah, like goo.
Yeah.
And they come down, and you might get like 2 yellows and a blue in the shape of an L, and you rotate them the same you would a Tetris. And the idea is you make combos with them the same you would make a line with Tetris. And the idea in this game is that it marries Tetris and Puyo Puyo. So you can just play Tetris, you can just play Puyo Puyo, or you can play Fusion, which is... So you'll get like a Tetris piece come down, a Tetromino come down, and then your next move, you'll get a Puyo Puyo come down. Yeah. And the idea is that literally you fuse it all together. It's impossible. Like I just play Tetris in this. I'm not good at Puyo Puyo, but I can play it. But like before it was out, like you can tell... like Japanese players are amazing at Tetris, and they're like, it's like watching someone do a Rubik's Cube that's like a record breaker, and you don't know how they do it, but it's just pre-programmed in their brain. It's just a lovely puzzle game.
Do you know my son can do Tetris, do a Rubik's Cube?
Do you know? Did you teach him? Or was he just
God no. God no. I can barely do a side, but he can do it. He can do it in like a couple of minutes. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I'm looking forward to being able to play this with people from the same region, or just because it's like I might actually be able to win. It's just nice playing like Battle Tetris online. I like that.
Battle Tetris. That sounds amazing.
Right. I'll tell you what.
Battle Tetris.
It's embarrassing the way the Japanese players were thrashing everyone I knew.
Wow.
Was playing it pre-release because they are so good. It's scary.
Wow.
Cool. Do you want to have a little chat about Google Earth? Because I'm very keen to hear how it works with VR.
It's quite moving.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm talking about this because I want to put a video together where I'll probably chat to you, Chris, about it. But I can't call it a review because it's not a game.
No.
It's very strange because probably everyone's had a quick look at Google Earth, and gone down to Street View and gone, oh look, there's my house, there's my next door neighbour's swimming pool, you know what I mean, or whatever.
Fancy.
Well, yeah, long story. Excuse me. And I would have done the video by now, but before I realised, well, I am actually looking at my house in the video, and that there's my kid's school. I probably should do this video again somewhere else. So we just look. It just was a bit of it because that's the thing you do in it when you look at Google Earth. Oh, I wonder how old this photo was. Like in our drive, the old car's there, and like it's an old photograph. The thing about Google Earth VR is you get I'm playing it on Rift, and you get the touch controllers, and you're controlling essentially your view of the Earth, and you start kind of in space looking at this, this beautiful blue and sort of green orb we live on, and it gives you this sense of a little bit of wonder, and it's quite emotional when you zoom in to somewhere, and it gives you this sense of insignificance. Like I had this not that long ago. I won't go on about it, but I don't particularly get on with London. I'm from quite backwater place actually, and I came out of the tube station. I think it was Leicester Square or somewhere like that. Or Piccadilly. It was somewhere really busy. And I'd been to London a few times recently, like Chris, when we went down to Hammersmith, and it was busy, but it was like, this is all right. And I walked out to this place, and it was just, I felt. Imagine someone looking down from space at top down of this view right now. It would be like we were ants, because there are thousands upon thousands of people walking around. All the shops look the same. It's just as someone who comes from a small town, it's like that. You forget what it's like to be in somewhere that busy, and it gives you that very similar feeling, because you can turn on like I forget what it's called. I think it's human scale, and that actually then lets you get right down onto the street, where you can literally walk along the streets and see.
That's awesome.
It's not like in motion. It's all good, like you've seen the Google vans or that sort of stuff. But it's quite an emotional. You start going to places that you remember from your childhood or places you've been, and it's weird because it's this massive business conglomerate that's taken. It's scary in a way. They've got photos of everything they can see in our back gardens, but at the same time it's
matron. Sorry.
Yeah, well, not that back garden. They haven't got cameras quite that good.
Not quite that powerful.
Not yet. And the thing is, if you go to somewhere more populated like a London or I don't know, New York, the image quality is better because they go round more regularly. They've got satellites on them. Whereas like where I live, it's like my house looks like a alien's place because it's not. They drove down my road once, turned around and went back, and that's the footage they got. Yeah. It's just a weird, quietly emotional moment, that game experience, I suppose. If you can experience it, whether Rift or Vive, I would recommend just don't record yourself going to your front door. And then nearly publish that.
Do you reckon they make it available for like the little kind of Samsung Gears and stuff like that? Because they're planning more available.
I have no reason to give you why they couldn't.
Yeah,
let's put it that way. I mean, it does use the controllers. You are like controlling it like a game.
Yes,
but it's also no. That's the thing. Actually, There'd be no way. I mean, if they you could Bluetooth a controller, but there's no reason. There would be no way of inputting anything. You'd just be stuck where you were, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So you say you walk down the streets. Is it like kind of similar pace? So I could literally walk the school route. I'm not that I would because that's fucking boring. But like,
you say that, but
I could do that.
Probably would.
Yeah,
because I did all that sort of stuff. Places that's what I'm saying. You do kind of go, oh, look, there's that. You basically hold the left stick on the wrist touch, Rocket's touch, and then you can hold a button to make you fly faster. And then you can tap a button and it puts the earth on its side, so it doesn't put the earth, it puts you on your side, I suppose. So you, rather than being like looking down the street, it pops you so you're back in the air looking down at the street. You know? Yeah,
awesome.
It's weird, but it's so cool.
Yeah, cool. Well, we'll call it there, I reckon. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Oh, well.
No problems.
Just a quick one. If you are, you love the stuff we do, we've got a new podcast starting next week. I've been talking about it a bit on Twitter. It's called I Heart Video Games, and it's where we will talk to members of the games world, whether that be fellow writers from other sites or developers. We've got some really good stuff, good people coming on, and we're just going to talk about like the games that kind of mean something to them, and the stories I've heard so far are just incredible, and it's going to be something really special. So keep tuned for that. Also, if you'd like to go onto Patreon, and just help us a little bit, because we would appreciate it. $1 here and there does make a lot of difference, and we do go to a lot of events. We've been to a hell of a lot this year. We want to go to more, and we want to make sure we bring you the content that you deserve, because you are fantastic kind of followers, and we've had some really nice feedback this week, whether that be on a YouTube's comment section, YouTube, and on Twitter as well. We've had some nice feedback and stuff, so it is appreciated. So if you just head to patreon.com/GodisaGeek, back us, you will get early content. This podcast will be going out early to you, along with all kinds of other stuff. So thank you very much, and back us. You can follow Adam on Twitter at JebusF.
Yeah, just to apologise for how croaky I am, by the way. I don't know what's wrong. My wife thinks I might be getting hay fever. I can't seem to not have a sore throat, so apologies if I'm croaking or you heard slurping of like the 8 pints of water I've gone through just for an hour. But there you go, sorry.
And you can follow Nick at wavy_gravy with an E.
Indeed.
You can follow me at FirstAvenger83, and you can follow the geek at GodisaGeek. Thank you very much for joining me again, guys.
Mm-hmm. Enjoyed it.
And we will speak to you all next week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.